Hello, Buckeye Fire family. Good to see you guys. I have been kind of bummed out. We weren't able to do the parents' meeting or any of that stuff in person, so I thought rather than write you another long email trying to catch you up, that we could talk a little bit about what practice is going to look like this year. I won't take much of your time, but that would be best to do in a video. So I'm going to tell you guys that our decision to not practice in that first month, I know was hard on the kids. It's hard when they go on Twitter and they go on places and they see other clubs, not all of them, but some, practicing and having fun. A lot of those pictures with kids without masks on, coaches without masks, and a lot of kids in the court. But that's nor here or there. Us, Ignite, and we do talk a lot, all made the decision to go ahead and shut that down because it was only basically 4 practices in between all the holidays, and it didn't seem worth it. So, for those of you who heard, I think I wrote you the first time, my family actually, come Thanksgiving, and there's me, my wife, and my 2 adult kids that live in the home. And we find out that my oldest son has COVID. We find that out on Thanksgiving, during Thanksgiving dinner. He's fine. Everybody's fine now. But the point being that we canceled our normal big family get together with my mother, my sisters, brothers, their kids, just to be safe this year. And I was pretty glad that we did. Immediately, 3, 4 days later, my daughter came down with it. My wife had already had it. I haven't had it yet, and I don't know why I didn't get it, but I didn't. Um, Lesson is, we made the right decision. I kind of feel that way about what we did here at Buckeye Fire as well. Now, come Christmas. So Christmas we cancel everything, and like a lot of you, you didn't have your big family gatherings. Some may have, but we decided that we'd try this Zoom thing, and we're all getting caught up on the technology and running around the house on Christmas Eve and trying to get a good camera angle, and we drop presents off during the week so that way they can be opened on Zoom, and it's kind of fun for about the first 20 minutes. Then it was agitating. So, point being, we just keep rolling with the punches, and it probably isn't going to stop anytime here in the next month or two. But we were able to have Christmas. That said, my sister's youngest son went with his dad to Florida, came home 4 hours after he got home, got real sick. He's got COVID. So my sister got COVID. Her 2 adult sons got COVID, all 4 in the house. The dad that took him got COVID. He brought it home. His girlfriend now has COVID. His mother has COVID. But they had their Christmas event. I'm not holding anything against anybody. Anybody who knows me is I probably hold a more conservative view on things. I don't want to take people's freedoms away, but we all have choices, and that's part of freedom. And when we make those choices, we have to keep other people in mind, and that's why I tell you that story. That dad taking his young son to Florida thought it was a good idea, and here he's infected already 7 or 8 people coming back. That's what we didn't want to happen, and that's what we didn't want to bring in the gym in the start of the season. If this happens to the clubs that did practice, they're going to open up. Tournaments are going to start happening about mid-January, more towards the end of January, and they're going to have all kinds of kids in quarantine, and that was my big concern. So I want to get by this holiday. We're by Christmas. So anybody who may have contracted this during Christmas should be clear by the time we get up and going. I'll ask you guys to be careful on New Year's. That's could be some big decisions to be made there on New Year's Eve as to whether it's worth it or not to come to the gym. But this is what's happening. COVID is real. But again, I won't tell anybody what to do. I'm just going to ask you to please keep everybody in mind, keep your coaches in mind, keep your teammates in mind when you make certain decisions from now till mid-season, maybe when the vaccine and everything gets out there. We're going to look at this season like a funnel, right? So it's going to start off real skinny, and hopefully it just keeps growing bigger and bigger, and the opportunities that we can relax more as this thing starts to tail down. The vaccine gets out there. More people, of course, are getting it, shouldn't get it a second time. So we're really hoping by the time we hit February, for sure March, we can really be working hard with a lot less restrictions. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. We will be starting practice here on January 4th. We're not going to delay it anymore. It's time to get going, and we're just going to have to be absolutely as careful as we can. Some things that are going to change for you during practice is really important. Your coaches have all been instructed that what they're to do is to receive a text from every player at least 15-20 minutes before every practice. It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it doesn't matter. All you have to do, you don't need a paragraph, is put the numbers with your temperature. So if you have a 98.6 temperature, just type it in the text, 98.6, she'll know who it is, because your name will be on the text, and come on to practice. CDC right now I think is 100.4, but just keep watching the CDC site. That's what we do, and of course everything's always changing there. But if you're anything over that CDC guideline, do not come to practice. More important, if you have any symptoms, a cough, scratchy throat, runny nose, eyes burning, for sure if you can't taste or smell something, take the day off. It's just not worth it. Coming to the gym, even with mild symptoms, any kind of symptom at all, makes you contagious. You're pretty much contagious 2 days from the point where you start showing symptoms. So we definitely don't want you to come to practice if you don't feel well. And don't even think about it. Nobody's getting punished this year because they chose to avoid practice and getting somebody else sick. So that's key. That's number one. On the way to practice, try to avoid carpools. I know that's not always 100%. I know that we have kids from Medina and further, and sometimes they come to practice together. And again, I'm not telling you what to do, but if you can avoid a carpool, that would really help. It seems like being contained in an area is what spreads this so quickly. If you are in the car, and it's not your car, and you're not with your mom or your dad, put the mask on. Everybody in the car should keep the mask on in the car then. That's the best way. Basically, what the CDC is going to do with these players is the same thing that they did in high school, which means they're going to judge if you were within 6 feet of somebody for more than 15 minutes. Now, a car ride's probably going to be more than 15 minutes. So, mask or no mask, if somebody comes down in that car, whoever's carpooling with them is also going to be quarantined. Quarantine, I think, has been cut from 14 to 10 days, so it's not quite as bad. But keep in mind when you make these decisions that, if you have a tournament on Sunday, and you end up quarantining 7 of your players on Wednesday, we're not going to be able to play that tournament. And right now, nobody knows if we get those refunded or rescheduled or how this is all going to look. Everybody in the OVR right now and every club's just rolling with the punches. And if they're not talking about it, they're avoiding it because this is the reality. Things are changing. I don't want any changing of clothes in the facilities. So when you get to practice, be ready to play. I don't want anybody ruining their $150 set of volleyball tennis shoes either. So I understand if you carry your shoes in with your bag, but that's all that you should change. Everything else should either be changed in the car or at home before you get in the car. We cannot be sitting around, and believe me, I've been doing this a lot of years. As soon as the kids get there, they like to get there 15 minutes early, sit around, laugh, joke with each other. We love that part of it, right? Because a big part of JO volleyball is the new friends you make. Not from your school, but from other schools. Again, we're going to have to roll with those punches. There's no way that we can afford for kids to be sitting around while they're changing and getting ready and laughing with each other. So we're going to ask you to change before you get there. Have a mask on. Do not enter these buildings without a mask. You have got to have a mask on. The club has actually purchased gaiters for every player and every coach. The reason we did that is, number one, the gaiters are going to match the uniform. So there's one for the dark uniform, one for the light uniform, and we're going to have the gaiters. They may be in. If not, they're coming in here in the first week of January, and we'll get them to the coaches to hand out to everywhere. We thought hard about this. If you have a mask, what do you do with the mask when you go on the floor? Keep it in your pocket? Spandex doesn't have pockets. So, this is a tough decision for me. I don't want them laying on the floor. I don't want somebody else to have to pick up your mask. And what good does it do if you're going to run to the sidelines, run all the way to your bag, grab your mask, put it on, run back to your bag, put it in? Eventually what's going to happen, kids are not going to wear masks. We're going to try to keep practices moving. So by buying everybody the neck gaiters, our feeling is that we're going to have less exposure. I know that there's stories out there which masks are better, which aren't, double layer masks, certain masks, N95s, and neck gaiters and how effective they are. But I think it's way more effective than not having the mask on at all. So my expectations with these neck gaiters are they sit, they come up anytime you approach a player, and then they go back down as you go back to play. That seems to be the smart thing to do. So kids congregate in the middle of the floor during a point or something, pull it up. You go over to talk to another player. Hey, you know, you got to cover that area. Go ahead and pull it up. It only takes a second. Pull it back down and play the play. Come to the sidelines. Pull it up. Timeout. Pull it up. As you walk away, go ahead and put it down. We're going to get in a habit where that's going to be a perfectly normal thing, and it's not going to be real intrusive. A lot less intrusive than trying to put a mask on and take it off. I know that in the state of Ohio, while playing, you don't have to wear a mask, and I think that some kids take advantage of it. The younger kids seem to wear them all the time on the floor, and that's okay too. I have no issue with that at all. If there's having trouble breathing or something, you can pull it down for a second and back up. Just be courteous if you're talking to somebody. So we'll get those neck gaiters out, and hopefully that's going to really help as well. We're going to have to learn new high fives, right? We don't want to be celebrating and hugging in the middle of the floor. That's going to be a tough thing, but we'll have to find a way to celebrate points that is a little bit safer. But this is all stuff that we will be going through during the season and learning. It'll create new habits, I'm sure. Would ask that you guys, I know everybody wants the team bond. For 15 years, I know the importance. I've done it all the time. Bonding with your team, having your team do get-togethers and stuff, that's a big part of the season, but I don't recommend it. There is no safe get-together in somebody's house. And right now, there's not a lot of places you can go where you could put a bunch of kids that aren't related in an area anyway. You could say you're going to have a get-together and put masks on and it'll be perfectly safe, but that's just not the case. If we put all the kids in one house, it's very unlikely that you wouldn't spread something if somebody has COVID or been in contact with somebody in COVID, and we just don't know. Again, I'm not going to say what to do, but I will tell you that I would definitely discourage that. We're discouraging a lot of talking at practice, so that's a big part of the game as well. You know, anybody who's played for me knows I'm a talker, and the mental side of the game is very, very important to me. So I spend a lot of time teaching in practice and saying, what would you do in this? And sometimes we can get on other subjects, and we talk in practice about, so we do bond about what kids do, you know, outside the court. And it's a nice thing, but we just can't do it. We can't sit around in these facilities and talk. So our goal here for these practices are to move the kids into the gym, get them right on the floor, work really hard, and then get them off the floor and done. So if we're able to do that, we'll try to utilize technology like this. I opened a Zoom account finally. I'm going to have my first Zoom meeting with my team Wednesday, and hopefully those kind of things we can fill in the gaps. We will be starting up, and I have almost all the details done. We are going to be starting up a mental training. Terry Spilker, who's studied on this a lot, and his philosophies and mine match a lot regarding this. From the mental side of the game. We're going to be doing that training in here at my company's training center. The training center is pretty big. It'll hold very comfortably about 23 people spread 6 feet apart. So the same rules are going to apply here as everywhere else. Masks are required. All those things are going to be required. We're going to be very careful. But every team's going to go through basically a 4-week program on mental training. And they're going to sit down and they're going to learn things from Terry. We'll get you the agenda and all that, but we're adding that to our offering, so you guys can have a good experience and not miss out on that on the floor, and we can still get that mental training in here. Your coaches are invited, not required to come, but we'd like every team to go through the mental training. I think it's going to make us a lot stronger. Look, volleyball for years and years and years, one of the biggest keys to volleyball is the life lessons that you learn from volleyball. We don't always think about that when we're losing, or we get a practice cut, or you know, you're feeling like maybe you're not developing or losing a little confidence. Side of the game is really important, is what we learn. And when you learn these things, the kids take that for the rest of their life. They're never going to remember that match they lost. They probably don't even remember where they were ranked last year. These are the things that have a value in JO volleyball for your daughters. And we want to continue those things on and off the court. There's no better time than right now for life lessons, how to roll with punches, how to get through the season, how to be glad we're playing, more so than rankings or anything else. Let's just play. You know, if we have to do 3-team formats, maybe we have to do 3-team formats. Nobody knows right now. Tournaments are going to get canceled. They're going to get moved. They already have. They're going to get rescheduled. We're going to roll with the punches on that. I want you guys to know that we're not alone. It could be frustrated. Right now, you might only be seeing 9 or 10 days in your schedule. They just now started releasing April tournament dates. They finally set the championship dates, which now allows them to start filling in the others. So we're still looking for tournaments, and we'll continue to book. Don't be surprised if we're not booking more tournaments still for another month. We will do everything we can to get you the amount of days that you were promised. So hang in there. Again, roll with the punches with us and know that we are continually working towards that. Come the end of the season, like the 18s, we finish April 18th. We don't have a lot of time to get these tournaments in. So, you know, come the end of the season, if I'm really short, we'll go find a big tournament somewhere, but we'll go. Travel. You know, when you're traveling, you got to do the same rules apply that are in the facilities. Don't be sitting in each other's rooms. You know, I know the kids like to go to each other's rooms, or we like to put all the kids in one room while mom and dad are downstairs with the coaches having a Pepsi. But, you know, things are going to be a little bit different this year. If we put them all in a room, we're at risk of infecting the whole team, not knowing who we've run into. Same thing carpooling to these places. So all I'm asking is that everybody keeps that in mind, that your decision based on that one moment can actually affect the entire team. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything. Yes, when you come to practice, if you have the first, there's 2 blocks of practices. They're basically 5 to 7 or 5:30 to 7:30, 7 to 9 or 7:30 to 9:30. So the 2 blocks of practices. If you were in the first block of practice, get there about 5 minutes early. There'll be a coach directing you where to go. There'll be no more than a team on a half a court. So you'll be led to an area with your team. Another team will be led to an area with their team. And you will stay separated. Get right on the floor. Put your bag down, shoes on, get right on the floor, and we'll do our best to keep everybody separated. If you are in the first practice, we will call practice about 10 minutes early. So moms and dads, you want to be there about 10 minutes early to pick them up. We want to stage the kids out as soon as we can. We'll have worked hard with no talking, so we'll get the practice time in. We'll get those kids out the door before the next kids arrive. If you are in the second block, do not come until the practice time. If you're scheduled at 7, show up at 7. You don't have to be early. We want to stage the first ones out. You stage in, and then we'll get you started right away the same way, okay? The idea being we don't want a lot congregating in the hallways or things on the way in and out. They'll tend to stop. They'll tend to talk to each other. Masks may or may not be up, and I know we're going to continually be policing that. But right now, that's the plan. Everything I'm telling you is at least for January. I'll keep you updated on February. We're going to work hard, fast, determined. Leave the talk for later. We'll use Zooms, emails. Coaches are getting real good at technology, except maybe John. We still can't teach him how to turn the computer on, but everybody else is getting up to date. I know that today alone I talked to 2 or 3 coaches that were starting a Zoom meeting. So we'll get that together. We're going to find ways to keep the communication open, positive going, but work hard in the gyms. The gyms are going to be purely for work. Practice schedules changed in January, as you know. Our facilities got knocked around a little bit. That's expected to end beginning of February. And then, of course, we have more facilities open to us in February and March, so we'll have ample facilities, and you should see a lot more activity going and other things we can do. That's why we're going to do the mental training now earlier, so when those gyms open, we can get in and utilize them to the max. So I think that covers all of that. Again, don't come if you're sick. That's important. Tournaments, be ready for format changes. Could very likely be 3-team formats. We don't know yet. They may try the 4 teams. Think it depends on the size of the facility. Be ready for spectator limitations. Talking with the OVR, they're not quite sure what that's going to look like yet. The county may determine that. The convention center definitely is going to have some limitations anytime we're in Columbus or other convention centers like the MEQ. Already the MEQ for 17s and 18s was moved to Kentucky. So really, again, just kind of rolling with the punches, but it is pretty likely that there will only be one parent or one spectator per player allowed. I'd be ready for that, at least for the early tournaments, because that's the word on the street. Nothing's come out in writing yet to say that it's a policy. Again, be ready for cancellations and rescheduling. We'll do our best and we'll act fast on everything that we can. I would say that this season we're not going to worry as much about points and ranking. Everybody wants to win. We always like to be ranked in the top 5. Often we have multiple teams there. But this year, we just want to play. After last year, watching my 18s get shut down and all the kids get shut down for the whole season, I would have taken a last ranking if I could have got them on the floor. That's what I mean by, life lessons. Looking back, I would have played anywhere with those kids just so they can get some time to play. So we want to win, of course, and we want to beat these teams, and we want to be good. Most importantly, we want to get better and we want to develop. But it's not going to be so important that we wouldn't go to a 2 or 3 net tournament to play just because there's not enough points in it. We might have done that in the past. That's not going to be the case. We need to play. These kids need to play. As the season ages, I think that everything is going to continue to open up, loosen up. The numbers are going to go down. Of course, that's pure speculation, and I'm not a scientist, as my wife often tells me. The OBR championships are going to be the same format as last year. There was talk that to let more teams down, they were going to reduce it to 3 teams, and you only played 3 matches. Well, nobody wants to go to Columbus to play 3 matches. We wouldn't have went. But it looks now like it's opening up in the same format. We've let the coaches know that, and I would tend to say that a lot of coaches will go ahead and take advantage of that championship in Columbus in April and May. What you can have in your bag. Have in your bag hand sanitizer. Use it as often as you can, certainly on the way in and the way out, right? It's a good idea. After you get your neck gaiters off and everything, you're ready to go, and you put your shoes on, hand sanitize right away. Avoid restrooms in the facilities. I'm not saying don't go if you don't have to go. Definitely will limit how many can go at a time. But hand sanitizer is a good choice rather than sending 10 girls into the bathroom to wash their hands. Be ready for the big tournaments. There won't be benches anymore. So I think what they're talking about now is asking kids to bring their own chairs. If you think about it, kind of makes sense. So if we're getting ready to play and the players bring their chairs over to the sidelines, the facility does not have to sanitize them. So you can pick up the chair. You can pick up the chair then and take it back. It's your personal chair. If you want to sanitize it, fine. If not, you're sitting in it. They just don't have the staff that can sanitize a bench after every game. So that's kind of been the talk for that. I would say look for updates and changes really often. Keep looking at the CDC site. State of Ohio has a good COVID site. They're kind of guiding a lot of the guidelines we're playing by, and again, they're changing, which is why I think nobody's put firm answers to it. We're starting practice. Some are going to have tournaments January, I think, 16th. That's right around the corner, but we want to play. So we're going to figure this out as we go along. Hopefully these first tournaments are smooth, and the OBR's bigger tournaments that are down in Columbus go smoothly. And I think if we all follow the rules and do our part to keep these kids on the floor, that'll really help, and it'll keep things going. It's going to take somebody, and I don't mean Buckeye Fire, because Buckeye Fire does not ever mess up, but it's going to take a team to mess up or screw up, and then that's going to cause us some issues. So we don't want to get shut down. We want to play this season, and I wanted you guys to know that just because we took a break purely on safety. I hope the other clubs are able to get through all this healthy and get through the holidays and everything healthy, and they don't end up quarantined, which is what us and Ignite and some of the others really feared. But if it happens, then that creates difficulties again for all of us. Our choices affect everyone. If ABC and Nova and some of the other clubs that practice turned around and end up in quarantine and don't show up for tournaments, now we got pools that aren't full, and that just creates a pain. But we're going to stay healthy, and your coach is going to be watching. Kids, don't get upset when your coach is yelling at you to pull a mask up, or go wash your hands, or sanitize now, or help wipe down poles and pads and things like that. We're definitely getting an inventory of sanitizer too for that kind of stuff, and we're going to do the best we can do here, and I think we can do this safely, and I think we're going to have a good season. It's just going to be a different season. And if everybody's patient and everybody puts the safety first and understands what's going on and just knows that we're going to have to roll with these punches, I think that we're going to get along good this year. And I think by the end of the year, when things start opening up and we're playing more, everybody's going to be happy. So feel free to communicate with your coaches. We've had our coaches meeting here at the training facility last week. We talked in depth about everything. We're all on the same page, as often Buckeye Fire is, thank God. Um, the positive shouldn't go away. The good things about the club, the family atmosphere, the understanding, the confidence building, and the mental training, which is something that we're actually going to bring into a classroom now. These are all things that Buckeye Fire thinks that we're above and beyond some other clubs, and we think we're going to help the kids, and that's what it's all about. We want to give you the most we can give you, with the understanding that this year somebody may be tying our hands a little bit. But we will provide as much as we can, and of course, if anything catastrophic ends up happening and we lose a lot of tournaments, we'll make that right too. But I want you guys to hang in there, have a good attitude. Parents, support what's going on. It's going to be hard because you're not going to be in the gyms to see them. You can't walk in and practice. You can't come into the facilities. Those are all big changes, but your coaches will have an open door. They'll listen to you. Just follow along the guidelines. If you haven't had a chance, go through the club manual. There's ways to go through everything. None of that's changed. There's ways to talk to the coaches and get your point across, even though we're not in person as much. But let's have a good season. Let's support these kids, and most of all, let's keep this as positive as possible. That's what I'm looking for in 2021. And then 2022, hopefully it's all behind us and we're back to putting about 5, 6, 7 of our teams in the top 5 and winning and having a lot of fun. All right. You guys have any questions? You know the email address. Feel free to write. Sorry for a little bit longer video, but imagine if I had to write that. You guys all know my long emails are not easy to get through. Hopefully this was a little bit easier, but at least you can pause it and go back. You guys have a great new year, and we'll see you all in the gym on January 4th. Go Buckeye Fire.